All right. A couple of games on my list of like my favorite games. We talked about Breath of the Wild. I am going to cape for what I think is the most underrated game on the Nintendo Switch, Arms. Have you
Ooh,
played Arms by
I
chance?
I have arms. It is still wrapped. I got it for Christmas.
Oh man, I oh man, the discussion around that game drives me nuts.
What do you mean?
Of a lot of people who bury that game for being too shallow.
Hmm.
A lot of people who think that game is a flop because it hasn't sold as well as Mario Kart or Zelda. Like that stuff's
Right.
just not true.
No.
That game actually has a ton of depth
Yeah. No. I've heard.
relative
I've only
to
heard
its
good things.
super basic systems, like the nuances around curving your punches. And
Hmm.
pro tip: if you're when you're playing it, and once you get beyond the I guess the basics of it, you're not really trying to punch for where they are. You are trying to punch for where they are going to go.
Hmm. Fair enough.
So it's the I'm going to curve my punch this way because I think because you're going to stand there and see this punch and go, oh, I'm going to dash out of the way here, and then really it just like clocks them.
Yeah. Nice.
Um,
Fair enough.
and so I play. That's my single most played game on the Switch. I played over 200 hours of it.
Yeah. I
Uh,
remember
I,
following your like Facebook uploads and stuff and being like, man, he plays that a lot.
and it's so good. The character designs are great. The like at a at a root level, like anyone can pick up that game and have fun.
Mhm.
But as you start play, I
Classic
mean, the
Nintendo.
game doesn't necessarily teach you all of its depth, but there
Right.
really is a lot there if you want to invest yourself in it.
Yeah.
Um, I think the single player stuff is mediocre to not great, but you go online and you just hop into that party mode, which shuffles a whole bunch of people in through a bunch of different modes, or
Hmm.
you can play super serious ranked, and that game will keep you entertained for a long time.
Yeah. No, I should open it up. And they just did the final update, right? Like 5.0 or whatever, last
Yep,
character.
added a new character. They squeezed. Apparently, they were only going to add 4 characters to the game, and because of the popularity of it, they were able to squeeze in one more.
Wow, that's great.
Um, and yeah, it's pretty well balanced at this point. It was lacking some big features like being able to customize your controls, having a tournament modes where all the arms are unlocked if you're playing it locally, and they've added
Hmm.
all that stuff in after the fact.
Hmm.
Um, it is a fantastic game.
Is it
And
gonna
to
be at
the
Is it gonna be at Evo sometime?
it was at Evo Japan actually.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, and it didn't make the cut for Evo. I don't think it
Nah,
will.
I don't think
That
so.
game is not. I think the big challenge with it on the esports circuit is
Hmm.
that game is really boring to watch. I love
Oh,
playing
really?
it. I
Yeah.
can't watch streams of other people playing it because, like, I mean, now I'm being hypocritical here. I'm like, yeah, this game's so great to play, but like watching it does look like, well, this guy punches left and punches right. When
Yeah.
really, I know there's so much more going on than that, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I
No, it
need
makes
the
sense. Some games don't have that pizzazz, that to see. So
yeah.
I can hear that. But yeah, I want to play it. It's just there's not that much time to jump into things, and when I look at the games on my list, I'm like, I don't know if I should even do that. And so it might go unplayed for a while until I have some time on my hands.
That's fine. Other big games I see on your most disappointed list is a game that I have on my best of list, Pokemon Go. So I I know that game came out half baked to say the least. But I got really like I'm not a big serious Pokemon fan, so maybe a lot
Hmm.
of the nuance that got lost in that initial build of the game didn't really affect me as much. But I love
Yeah.
that idea of experiencing a game where you have to be in a specific place at a specific time to do a specific thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And at a root level, something was like super cool about that. And then I got really into like trying to complete my Pokedex, get max IVs on everybody for a
Hmm.
while before they updated the gym system. Like I was taking the long way home on the subway because I would get out at a bunch of stops and just try and
Go,
like
go, go. Yeah.
dominate these gyms to get the money. And
Yeah.
um, if you fell out early on because the game sucked, I can't blame you for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Same.
But they've done a lot of work to it since, and it has definitely gotten better over time.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think that it had such a great explosion in the beginning, and then that big drop off. Everyone said, "Oh, the game is dead," but I think there's still like millions of players playing it, and I think it's cool. And like looking at what it did for, I guess, mobile games. Like I think what you said is cool. Being able to go to a place and experience something with a group of people, it's pretty cool. I think that there can be more done with the gym system and like how you interact with the rest of your gym mates, I guess. But I think it's still really fun. And I think the newest update with the quests, like that's a step in the right direction. Like change up the game, don't change up the gameplay, but like change up what you do and why you do it. And that's why people will come back to your game. And like I play intermittently. I haven't really played much recently, but with the new update, I was like, oh yeah, I'll jump back in. And they had that really cute April Fool's thing with the 8-bit artwork,
Yeah.
which I hope they keep in the game forever. But yeah, I jumped in and I'm like, wow, all the Pokemon around me, they're all silhouettes. Like I haven't caught any of these new things. So it is kind of fun to know like there's all this stuff to still get. And they've only got like half the Pokemon in the game, so it can only get more and more. And if I think of two stories with Pokemon Go, so we have a friend here in California, and his parents, for some reason, just absolutely love that game. And
Okay.
like, they play all the time. And so like he'll get text messages if he's hanging out with us. He's like, oh, my parents want to go to a gym. We're like, oh, okay. He's like, yeah, I'll be back in a couple hours because it's like, 2 hours away. So we're like, oh, okay. Or like they want to go catch a Pokemon over there. So we're like, okay, sure. So the joke is always now like they just, for example, they went to Alaska to visit for a couple weeks ago. And so the joke was like, yeah, they went to catch Pokemon. And Jamin's like, well, they're not catching Pokemon. So they're just playing all the time. And they'll go to like gym raids together. And they're like, there's all these young kids and like, these older parents, they're all together, which is just a cool moment.
Mm-hmm.
And second story that I can think of, back in September of 2017, so like a year after the game came out, I went back home to Indiana to visit my family, and my nephew was playing, and he's like, oh, hey, do you play? I'm like, oh, yeah, I do. Like, I haven't played in a while. And he's like, oh, what's your best Pokemon? And I said, oh, like in California, we have lots of Rhyhorn, so I have a Rhydon that's not bad. Like, I wouldn't say he's good. But over here in California, like, we would never really win gyms because he wasn't that good. Like, everyone else just kicked a lot of ass. Anyways, I went back to Indiana and went to this gym close to our house for a raid. I remember I put my Pokemon up there, put the Rhyhorn there, and some guy was like, oh, man, who's got that Rhyhorn? I was like, oh, that's me. And he's like, nice. So I was like, oh, okay, sure. So, like, his CP was, like, maybe 3,000. Like, it's not even, like, that high. But, like, just comparatively for everyone else there, like, he was just, like, leaps and bounds, like, above their, like, status quo of Pokemon.
Nice.
I was like, oh, awesome. So we went to a mall later, and I just threw my Rhyhorn in there. Laura threw her, like, Magmar or something like that, like, super low CP. And they were there for like 3 weeks. And I'm in like California, and I'm like, I can't even do anything to this guy. And like just no one beats him. So like, oh, it's wonderful. And then finally he came back. So it's
just abandoned your right
yeah,
out there.
And it's just funny just to think like, it was kind of cool because like over there in Indiana, like they don't have Rhyhorns, because it just doesn't come up as much as it does here by us.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of neat to think like everyone over in California, where it's much more densely populated, like tons of people played it. And it made that experience like better for me. And then moving to Indiana, like you can see how when there's not that many people, like it's more like personal, I guess. So like people at the raid, they like knew each other and like, oh, hey, good to see you again. And like, it's kind of cool. And so getting the two aspects of the game, like I think that's why Pokemon Go succeeds, because it can build off that big like cultural impact for like the right away, and then just it lasted forever. And I think it'll be around for a couple more years, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, I think Pokemon Go stories my two favorites. One, my former coworkers and I like met after work, and we were doing a series of raids when the legendaries first came out.
Oh yeah.
And there was this one kid we called the Karate Kid. He looked like he was about 8-9 years old, and clearly just came out of karate lessons because he was still in his karate gi.
Yeah.
And he was super excited. He was there with his mom and dad, and was like, "Oh my god, this is gonna be my first legendary raid! I can't wait!"
Cute.
And so he fought, and then like just towards the end, his phone crashed.
No.
And he was freaking out, like, "Oh my god!" And everyone's at the raids like, "It's gonna be okay. You'll just load back in." And he's like about to cry because he lost his moment. And then like, "Nope, it's fine." The Pokemon's there, and if you've tried to catch a legendary Pokemon, they're like crazy hard to catch.
Yeah.
He gets it on the first ball.
Oh, nice.
And he's running around shopping like, "Oh my god, I'm so happy!"
Oh, that's so cool.
He was like almost like crying tears of joy, and all of us were just like, "Oh, please stop."
These are tears of joy. Yeah.
Maybe on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. I don't know if I've told the story on the internet. I don't know if I should, but I'm gonna do it. It was around the time the game just came out, and there was a rare Pokemon across the street from my work, and it was at a church. My coworker and I were like, "Hey, let's just slip out for a minute and catch this Pokemon." So we go to the church, and like this is before they had the tracker had like it was set to Pokestops, so it was just like it's in the wild somewhere.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, I was using what was that service, the tracker?
It was like
Pokevision or something?
Yeah, Vision. Yeah, that's
Pokevision,
right.
yes. That was it. It was like, okay, it's by the church, let's go.
Uh-huh.
And so we're walking, and I'm starting to think like it's actually inside the church, but I don't want to go inside the church playing Pokemon, right?
Right.
So I'm walking against the wall, looking at my phone, and all of a sudden, like, I look a bit down, and there's like a set of feet. I look to the side, and like my coworker's like way off. Like, what the hell are you doing? And then I put my phone down, and I see that there's a person sitting in front of me shooting drugs into her foot. And I was like, God. Oh my God, I almost tripped over you. Like, I gotta go. Like,
yeah, I'm supposed to be that way. Yeah.
Yeah. I back up, and then like as I'm walking towards my coworker, these two guys show up and are like, "Hey, are you guys looking for the blah blah?" I think it was a Poliwhirl. The Poliwhirl? Like, yeah, like, oh, it's just right here. I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Don't go by that drug person. Yeah.
No.
Wow, that's intense.
Yeah.
I don't think I have any stories like that. No, just the normal stuff where like there'd be parks and people would be like, "There's a Charmander here," and everyone would just run across the park to go over there. That was great.